Man, I just ate some chips and they were extremely hot. Almost as hot as my lips were yesterday in the tree.
You guys must not have seen anything.
Yeah. He saw like 7 or 8.
He
He
hit a
saw more
shot
than
of
I did
deer.
that came up behind us. I had one at 28, but he was right behind the windmill.
He or she?
She.
Yeah.
She. We should have, and then I should have killed the one when we were, I didn't think, I told him last night when we got done. We got there and we went to climb up in there in the grizzly blind that's right there.
Mm-hmm.
There's a deer standing there watching him get in the tree. And so I get his attention finally, and I tell him, I said, look right there. And it's a big doe standing there. And so she watches him get up, do all his stuff. I climb up. She watches me pull my bow up. We get everything kind of hung and everything. And finally I turn around and look, and she's not there. I'm like, where'd she go, Nick? He says, I don't know. I look over, and she's walking out in the food plot to start eating. Didn't care at all. And had I been thinking, I could have got him his camera, and then I could have, because her head was right behind a tree over there, I could have walked within 20 yards and just shot. But I didn't think about it.
Yeah, that would have been really good.
I wish the deer I've been hunting were that stupid.
I don't know what her deal was, because she flat watched us the whole time.
I had crackheads last night, like no other.
All right. So that was just a little tidbit for you guys before the podcast actually starts. So anyhow, we are back. Raised Hunting is here. I'm David Holder. I'm joined today by my two boys, Warren and Easton Holder, and we're going to be talking a little bit about old blue laws. Sunday hunting is a little topic that's come up, but we're also going to talk about the October lull. If you're experiencing it, maybe what you can do about it and what you can't. For those of us out there hunting does, there's no such thing as a lull. They just keep coming. But before we get started with the podcast, I guess we better get our housekeeping done. So Warren, of course, is going to talk about all these nice people that support us, and the only reason we get to do it. So thank you, guys. I'm just kidding.
We are getting to the point, though, because you guys are awesome. That's about all there is to it. If you have a recommendation on maybe we do like 10 of the comments every week, because otherwise we're going to start getting there where the whole podcast is going to be
shout-outs.
a shout-out. But we want to continue to do it, so.
Yep. Okay. We'll go to YouTube first. Chase Knowles, 8726. Says, great podcast. Spotify listener here, but figured I'd come over here to drop a comment. Still waiting to see if 3 specific bucks from last year made it. Got permission for this property last year around mid-October, so don't have a lot of historical data. But as soon as I got my cams on it last year, I had 3 specific mature bucks regularly on cam. Put my cameras in the same spots over scrapes, and only younger bucks so far. Hoping they made it and are just waiting till crops are out to make their way back in. Keep up the good content.
Nice.
Appreciate you, Chase. Brian Sheffield, 7037. Great episode again. I'm ready to get out there for my first sit with the boys. William Ayers, SP4TT. Says, another great episode, guys. Can't wait to get out for my first sit on Thursday afternoon here in Pennsylvania, as long as I have a good win. Good luck to you guys. James Mass, 9060. Great podcast. Keep them coming. I look forward to them every Tuesday. Eric Robards. It's a great podcast, guys. My scrapes are on fire this time of the year in South Central Illinois. Just waiting on the right time to get out there. Love the scents. My rub posts are starting to get hit heavy. Best decision we made on our farm.
Heck yeah.
Bucky Doe Downer, 9040. Great podcast, as always, fellas. Best of luck out there. Jeremy Rupsick. Great conversations and ideas on how to approach the upcoming best time in the deer woods. Love the end of October as well. And then we got a few folks on Apple. A.E. Martz 94. Greatest podcast ever. You guys cracked me up. Loving the bow I bought off of you guys. Also, we must know who this is. Question for all of you guys. Would you rather shoot deer the rest of your life or turkey for the rest of your life, and why? That's super easy. A.E. Martz 94.
Huh.
That is not super easy.
That is so easy.
No, it is not. I love turkey hunting.
Yeah,
Deer.
I'm not going to lie to you.
They're unique.
Especially next year, because I ain't picking my bow up. I'm picking my shotgun
shotgun
up for turkeys. No longer in bow hunting turkeys, but
There's
think
nothing wrong with that. It's just as fun. That is one of the things that is just as fun.
if you get just
You
close.
just still do what you do like with a bow and just boom.
I'm gonna go with deer pretty easily on that one, even though I do love my turkeys, but
I'm not going that way. I'm going to say thank God that there is a spring and a fall.
You have to pick one. That's the whole point.
No, I'm not
Yeah.
doing it. I love both.
then you
of them.
die.
Okay, then I die.
Okay.
But I'll die a happy
That was
turkey
gruesome.
and deer hunter.
Okay, that's fair.
That's sort of like dying. That I spray
die on that hill.
permanone on me and keep
Permethrin.
Permanone is
It's
when it first came out.
Permethrin.
Before your guys, permanone was what they called
All you're doing
the stuff.
is making yourself sound older.
I don't care.
Okay.
What I'm saying is I sprayed it on my skin. You weren't supposed to do that. I would rather die 10 years earlier than itch.
That explains a lot as to why you act the way you do. All right, I have one decently long story, not that long, and I have one short one of somebody that is fun here.
Yeah, is it one of the dozen people that sends me a picture of an 80-inch shed?
Oh, my gosh. No. Did you get the forward I had today?
Oh, yeah, I've gotten a bunch.
Oh, you guys rock because everybody knows. Weirdly, Warren has coined calling me Mr. Deercember, which I get crap for that. But the one that is even more so is we give Warren crap because he absolutely will do anything to find an 80-inch shed because he never has. And you guys, I know you're sending Warren a lot of pictures of 80-inch sheds, and I know I'm getting a lot. Like, hey, make sure you send this to Warren. I send him probably 1 or 2 a day. So you guys keep sending them in. I love it. And he's always like, I'm almost tired of looking at these. But he never will. He'll never get tired of looking at them.
Oh, the one this morning, he's like, oh, I thought you might enjoy this. I found it off my tractor.
Took a picture in his tractor. He said, I almost ran it over. Ended up being 80 plus.
And then shout out to Levi.
Sandquist?
Yes.
Yeah.
He killed a tanker. Sends me a picture of his deer. Tells me that it was 183. Don't ever let him score your deer, because then he had an official scorer score it. And it was 188.
Oh, boy.
So
grew.
But then he made sure to follow up with, oh, yeah, I also have 4 sheds off him that are all over 80.
The same deer.
The same deer.
That is kind of funny, though, because we've said it before. You have 3 or 4 deer that you've killed that on their head they have 80-inch sheds. But you killed them.
I've also found multiple sheds of deer where their other side was over 80.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you're just not meant to be, man.
It's going to happen. I'm going to force it.
Well, I mean, Blade was one that, had I found the other side, I would have. Juice is one that we possibly could have found that would have been an 80-inch shed.
Well, Bullwinkle,
for sure.
both years, if I'd found the right side instead of the left, would have been over 80.
Ralph?
Yeah.
It's okay.
In the later years.
Yeah, when I found his other one, it was 76.
Mm-hmm.
I'll stick with my 74 when I was trying to find your turkey for you.
Yeah, that was in the dark. That was pretty impressive.
Well, mine was during the day, but it was in the middle of,
But I'd look for it
that
for
thick
4
stuff
days.
when you were crawling?
Uh-huh. It
You're
was during
thinking
the
of
day because
bushy deer.
right when I popped out.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Right when I popped out, I looked up and there was an antler stuck in the bank on the other side. You would have had to see it from that angle in your defense because you had walked that and everything.
Oh, I did the whole circle things
Yeah.
like 4 different times and never
Yeah,
found
Warren
it.
found the one side to a really cool 9 that we had, and then I found the bigger shed like a month later.
Well,
Because Warren shot a turkey and didn't hit it good. So
well, the thing is, when he found the first side of that, me and him were standing there talking, and
It was all 3 of us.
was it? And we were only like 5 yards from the dang thing for 10 minutes.
It was all 3 of us. We were all sitting there talking, and we made some comment literally right at that moment about, I don't know where all the big ones are. And I looked over and said, like that one?
We've been standing there talking about it.
In the middle of the food plot. Couldn't have been any more out in the open than it was.
All right. So to get on with this and get into the fun time, you guys like this segment of Raised Hunting Podcast, and the first one we're going to do is by a fellow listener by the name of Logan. This is a pretty good one, so here we go. I've started listening to your podcast a little over a year ago, and it's helped me a lot hunt the ground that I have permission on. From understanding thermals a lot more and how it affects the wind and to their behavior in / communication. I've really started to apply the knowledge I've learned this year to the way I hunt, and I am chasing multiple shooters. Your podcast is amazing and keep up the good work. Appreciate you. Applying your knowledge last year to a memorable hunt / hunts that I had last November, I take a vacation every year the 3rd week of November, as that's when the does in my area go into estrus, or at least certain of it, because I always get a pickup in activity on my cameras, not from small deer, but very mature bucks. We could talk about that. That I'd be willing to bet. Yeah, Kansas. He's from Kansas. That wouldn't be your rut. That is, I see the same thing, but I'll make a comment about it later. Anyhow, on the 19th, I was able to get a shot off on a deer, and my son, 2 at the time, helped me track it, and that was a memorable experience getting him involved in the outdoors. The next day, my cousin got home from school and was wanting to hunt a different property till I convinced her otherwise. We went to almost the same spot I had shot my deer the day before. Misty with rain, I sat on the ground, tucked in a cedar tree, and did some rattling. I had a gut feeling to stand up and look into the bedding area behind me. So I did, and all I could see was antlers walking away. So I did a snort wheeze. This deer stopped and looked directly at me. He turned and walked just out of sight. Knowing the property, I knew we'd be able to get to a spot and stalk with this deer, so I had my cousin get down from the stand. As we clear the brush and start to head that direction, I look down below and behold antlers coming from the ravine below. Knowing it was going to be a frontal shot, I described to her where to place her bolt for the shot. This deer stopped at 12 yards, and she hammered him. We gave him an hour to expire, but with the most I wanted to get started on the track, or with the mist, I wanted to get started on the track. We recovered an absolute hammer of a buck who was my target deer. Nonetheless, a super fun experience to cherish with a family member. Now I will send pictures of those deer. The sheds are of the deer I am after this year. Once again, thanks for all you do, Logan. We'll put those pictures on here.
Good work.
That is a good one.
The shed
That's
is a
pretty
big
cool.
deer.
Yeah.
And the deer that his cousin killed is a big deer for sure.
It was a match set, wasn't it?
This guy's little kid holding it in, sitting in the driver's side of the truck. He's holding it. I think he's got both. If I remember correctly.
This one is very quick but very funny, and she's probably going to give me crap because she's listening to us right now. And this is from Lynette, our fellow shipping lady. She's freaking awesome. Any of you guys that get your products, you're getting them from her. She's filling them and everything. So if she makes a mistake, you let me know, but you better be careful.
No, if there's a mistake, then the chances are one of us stepped in to help fill orders.
Yeah, that's probably more accurate. But this one is about her grandson. He is all about hunting. How old is he, Lynette? 9. He's 9. And we got to meet him the other day. He's a little character, and he's been shooting a bow and everything. But this one was just about a couple weeks ago, actually, during youth season.
Yeah.
He called her. I'm going to try to summarize because her writing is awful. And I hope she heard that, too.
That's why she's shipping.
Yeah. So she's trying to speak in the words of a 9-year-old. Basically, little man gets out there, and he was on his first hunt of the year. He called Lynette on Saturday, and it was a rough morning. He called her and started telling her about all of this, like he was freaking out and buck fever. He had all this buck fever and didn't know what to do with it. And he was shaking. He was so cold and sweating at the same time that his knees gave out on him when he had a buck in distance to shoot. Unfortunately, the buck that he was trying to shoot jumped the fence right before he could get his crap together. She told him it was a massive adrenaline rush. I bet that was a lot of fun. He was very upset about it, but he didn't understand the buck fever, so now he's, I'm sure, hooked on it. But there's also a picture of a buck he did get a shot on, and we'll put that on here too. I sent that to Nick. But that was a fun one to hear because hearing kids that get that excited and understand it, I love that because a lot of times you get newbies in there and stuff that takes them 1 or 2 times to really grasp what you're doing and the adrenaline rush behind it. And I guess he's had other hunts now where he hasn't seen much, and he is not happy.
Most kids aren't, especially if it starts off really good. Then they're like, how come they're not here now?
Yeah. But those are our stories for today. We do have a couple others that are stacking up, so if you guys want to get yours read off, let us know. Send us an email at contact@raisedhunting.com or go on the website, fill out a podcast request form. And we will do that because it's a lot of fun, and we get a lot of good compliments and comments on our story section. So keep it up. Thank you, guys.
All right, so we're going to start off a little bit because the other day this came about. Actually, I grew up in Virginia, and Virginia did not allow Sunday hunting at all. It has changed now from what I understand. Sunday hunting is allowed in Virginia, but it's still not in, I think we checked like 10 states that we saw.
That was 11 total.
Might be 11, but quite a few of them. But what sparked all this was, you guys, I think, or I did, one of us put something out on Instagram and just, hey, we're in a stand. And all these people started answering, must be nice, can't hunt here on Sunday, can't hunt here on Sunday.
Oh, that was probably from me. I posted the story. What? Yeah, it was. I said, it's a beautiful Sunday in here, and I normally am at church, but sometimes you got to prioritize the deer and talk to God in a stand, So if you guys skip church, it's okay.
Oh, you caused all this. So if lightning strikes you tonight, you're in trouble.
Oh boy, sorry God, I'm sorry.
But anyhow, so that brought up the discussion. So Easton and I started to look because he had not even heard of that. So just to kind of back up and give you guys a little bit of understanding, when I grew up in Virginia, there was no Sunday hunting. I moved when I was about 21 or 22 to Arkansas. When I moved to Arkansas, you could hunt on Sunday, but you couldn't buy alcohol on Sunday. And then Mom and I, after I got in the fire service, we then moved to Montana. When you get to Montana, you can do whatever the hell you want. They don't care. They just don't care. You can hunt on Sunday, you drink on Sunday, whatever. The bars are open. So
Wyoming's even worse. They've got drive-thrus.
Drive-through alcohol pickup.
Yeah, so it's all good. But why are those laws there? And we read some of that, and a lot of it, they refer to them as old blue laws. And that's why most of the states, if not all of them, are in the northeast region. I think some of it kind of goes down into the south as well. But most of those laws come from one of the things that we read was that the reason that they did that was they were trying to acquire more people to come to church. So if they didn't allow everyone to go hunting, there was a better chance that all the hunters would come to church. So they just said, we're not going to allow you to hunt on Sunday so we don't lose people. And so they did several things of not allowing people to do things, trying to keep them so that it came from the churches is where some of it came from, at least when we were looking at it. And it just has stuck, just been there. Now, when you read it, the anti-hunters, I think, are using it as, I don't want to say propaganda, but maybe that's the right word, but they're using it as, well, you've never done it before, so why do we give that to you now? Like, they're using that as ammunition to keep you out of being able to hunt on a Sunday. It sucked. I'll be honest, because when you think about doing something for the weekend, it was only a day.
Yeah.
You get off work on a Friday and go somewhere, and you go hunting for the Saturday, and then you come home.
I'd be curious to know if there's any actual benefit to having another day during the weekend, that, as far as for the animals or for your population and the amount of animals getting shot. I don't know. I can't imagine that's anything environmentally pushing besides the anti-hunting.
Well, it sounds like has anybody tried to overturn this?
Yes.
Yeah,
so Virginia did. I don't know what.
When?
I don't know what year that was. I just know that now they're allowed to hunt on Sunday.
One of the other states in the Northeast, we had read, they were trying to, but they couldn't get it through. They couldn't get it to stick.
And what was the reasoning?
What he's talking about.
Yeah, well, a lot of it is they're saying that, well, there'll be the other one was that it wouldn't be fair to the other people who don't hunt to not be able to use those state grounds. And so that they're talking public land only, because that doesn't make sense to the guy who owns his own farm that he can't hunt on a Sunday.
Yeah.
But that's what they were saying, was that it's not fair that the three of us could go use the public land Saturday and Sunday and not allow other people to go in there and be able to do what they want on Sunday.
So they shut down the public ground when, Saturday, the public ground isn't open to general public?
No, it is. You can, but they're just saying that you just it's always open. I mean, always open to everyone. So they get every day.
Okay, so then how that argument doesn't make any sense.
Well,
yeah,
I agree. I agree with you 100%. It doesn't make sense, but that's what they're saying, is that the general public would not have the opportunity.
And what did they say about private land?
They didn't.
Those guys can hunt Sunday?
They can't hunt. No, it's a state law.
We didn't even talk about private, and I'm sitting there thinking, you're going to tell me what I can and can't do on what day of my property?
Some of the things that Virginia, when they went to allow hunting on Sunday, but now remember, there was no use of dogs on Sunday. You couldn't run deer or bears with dogs on Sunday.
That's been illegal in a lot of states now.
No, but it's legal. It's always been legal in Virginia. In certain county, they did it by county when I was growing up. Like the South was a big part of using dogs for deer, but the North didn't do that. but you could, but you didn't do it. But so then they made it by law, and then when they started getting bears, which is about the time I moved away, we had some bears, but there were starting to be enough they could run dogs for bears. And now they're allowing hunting, but you can't do that. You cannot run dogs for them on Sundays.
What's the fine if you hunt?
I don't know.
I bet it's pretty hefty.
Almost everything. It's
Do
not
we know
so.
a state that this is active in?
New Jersey.
Massachusetts, I think, was one of the big ones. But here's what Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania. I think finally. No, maybe it is Pennsylvania that you can't hunt on Sunday. But here's the thing that's the kicker in most of those states. It's not the fine that really why guys don't just say I'm going to ignore it. They take your license.
Yeah, I figured it'd be probably a license and then a fine on top of it.
So this here says that Massachusetts and Maine are the only states remaining with a Sunday hunting ban after Pennsylvania changed their rules in 2020.
I would not be surprised if Dad was reading to me the other day outdated.
Well, it could. I'm not. I just was looking.
So it says there's 2 left?
Massachusetts and Maine.
Okay. I knew that northeast area, for whatever reason, is it was like all up there when it was the 11 or 12,
right.
Which is interesting to me. I guess that kind of makes sense.
Well, hopefully,
historically,
the other 48 of us will help those two, meaning give them the argument to get out of that as well.
Yeah.
So it says in Massachusetts, hunting on Sundays is prohibited, and the penalty for violating this law can include a fine of up to $1,000 a year, or up to $1,000 a year in jail, and a revoked hunting license.
How could they even catch you, really? They'd have to catch you in a stand or something.
I don't know, but I don't think that
you dang sure ain't hunting public land. If they see a truck parked there, then,
yeah.
I guess.
You could be recreational using it.
Especially if you're the typical guy who has a job Monday through Friday.
Yeah, when you
9 to 5, I would move.
Yeah,
and I'm not even kidding because I'm not. Well, you have really one day.
Here's the one that royally pissed me off, and this was in Montana that I watched it happen. And that was, if you remember, you guys may not remember because I paid for it for you guys because you're too young. But when you guys were 12 and could hunt, we all had to have a state land use permit. And it was a big deal. Like that, they always checked. If they checked your license, they wanted to see a state, even if you weren't on state land, do you have your state land use permit? And it was $20. And I'm like, yes, we have our state land use permits, and we have that. But if you recall, and I don't remember the road, there was a main road as we went back into Whitefish that went to the right before you got into Whitefish that we would drive that and see all those deer. There was like through crop ground, farm, yeah.
Farm to market.
Maybe
Farmers
that's what
market.
No, farm to
market road might have been the road.
Or Fox Drive.
No,
I don't know. But anyhow, do you remember there was some state ground right there?
Yep.
And so I come down there one day, and I had been checked, and I talked to another guy at the archery shop that not only had been checked, he didn't have his state deal, and they wrote him a ticket. And I pull in there, and I wasn't going hunting that day, but there's like 40 vehicles, and they're all bike riders. They're all in there going to do that mountain bike riding. So I just wanted to check, because there was a couple people, they were nice, and I was like, man, they must be making a fortune off you guys. You guys all have to have that state land. And I was, at this point, I'm not questioning that. But I'm like, all of you people have to have state land use permits. Not one of them had ever even heard of it. They were like, huh? I was like, you guys don't have the $20 permit? No? Have you ever been checked? No? And so then there's like hundreds of people here and all these vehicles doing their like little race and stuff, and they're not checking them. They're just picking on the hunter. That's BS.
Yeah, that is.
Yeah, that was a total.
So you didn't have to be on state land, and they wanted you to have that permit?
They would ask if you had it, even if they couldn't have written you a ticket, but they could ask if you have it.
Why did they care so much when you're not on state land?
It was just a
So
like
if you
part of
just
their
told me no,
questioning.
I don't.
Then you'd have been fine, but it was just part of they were so ingrained in asking that question that they all asked. Everywhere I went, they asked, you got your state land use permit?
I'd start saying I'm a biker.
Well, I didn't know this at the time.
I identify as a biker.
There you go.
You get away with it now. Back then, identifying as something that you were not was not a thing.
Right. Yeah,
I plead the fifth.
Yep, good job.
All right.
Know your amendments.
So anyhow, hopefully, like I said, if that's the only 2 that are left, and I hope that it is, and the same thing, now I guess it will save it for turkey season, but I would like to know how many states still have the Time issue, because Virginia had it where you could only hunt till noon in the spring, and I don't think they've changed that, or maybe they did. Someone else is 1 o'clock
at noon, anyways, unless I'm driving around looking for.
Yeah, but you couldn't go back in the afternoon either.
That would piss me off.
that one's more understandable though, because supposedly that's so that you're not
harassing
running
the
into
hens on the
when they're
nest.
nesting.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which I'd like to see the statistics on how their turkey populations are doing, because if they're doing better, then that might be something that all the other states need to consider with the fact that the turkey numbers are going down.
Good thinking.
I think that what you'll see before that here in Iowa is just take away a tag, where we don't get 2 tags, you just have 1.
Well, and if that's what needs to happen, though, I'm good with that too.
Me too. If it helps the birds, I'm all for it.
But that one's different to me because that has a purpose and a conservation reason, opposed to just, well, it's always been this way, so we're going to keep it that way.
I agree with you.
I would say Massachusetts, and I'd be out.
All right.
Yep. That never have to question what Warren thinks. Now we get into the fun part.
What's even up there, anyways? Bunch of freaking.
Isn't that where Staten Island is?
Where they make oatmeal or something?
That's Rhode Island.
You know that
or
Pilgrim?
Staten Island, New York.
Yeah, but it's technically Massachusetts, I thought, or New Jersey.
Well, that's the problem is the damn Quakers.
It's considered in.
I think it's part of New York.
Who needs them Quakers?
I just know that they have really big deer on that island.
Yeah, it's because you can't hunt those either.
Yeah.
I'm going to have Eddie do some scouting for me, though, so I can go find me an 80.
I don't think you can do that either. What? It's a park.
I got a question for you. Did you even find an 80 when we hunted the high fence?
I found like 100. Like 100 and...
Whoa,
been well over 100.
When we shed hunted the high fence.
That's what I meant.
Yeah. None of us have ever hunted a high fence, but we were squirrel hunting in Bama and had a friend hook us up with a deer farm. And we went and found all their sheds for them.
Yeah, if you didn't see the video.
Yeah, it is a YouTube video.
Yeah, I was going to say there's a YouTube video on it, and we tell everyone what we're doing. We didn't hide it. We
did it for research,
Yeah,
really.
We wanted to see how many are we missing, and because we were looking for stuff that wasn't normal. Like they had elk in there. They had fallow deer in there. They had...
used to have.
Yeah, I don't...
You found that set.
It was an elk. We confirmed.
That was?
Yeah, we confirmed.
Really? Yeah, I probably found that 4-point antler might have been over 80.
I don't know. We didn't
get to keep any.
The other one was like 100 some. You remember that
big.
I pulled out?
Yeah, I knew you found one big one, but I couldn't remember how big.
Oh, it was huge. Yeah, that one was giant. But I mean, it's a high fence, so
I was okay with finding the big elk.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
And they're all hidden.
Yeah, they were all mossy colored and stuff. It was cool. It was fun.
All right,
October lull. This is when they get their blankets.
First off, we could do this.
Pillows out.
The October lull. Fact or fiction?
Let's define it then first.
The October lull, let's go with, there's all kinds of different ones out there, but you got, I would think, on average, I'd probably get yelled at, but the majority of people thinking about the October lull is like a week to maybe a 2-week period. In probably, it could really technically start right away in October, but like your middle of October to like 18th, 20th, somewhere in there.
Probably even like the 1st till like this 18th, 20th.
Yeah. So let's go with that time frame. And what it is, bucks aren't going anywhere. They're not moving. They're only going to be seen at night. What else am I missing? Just not a lot of movement.
Yeah, I think kind of that they go underground.
Okay. Fact or fiction?
I'm saying fiction.
Fact or fiction?
I'd say fiction.
I'm on fiction too. But I think that there is some truth to some of it.
No, I think there's truth to that the activity level and things like that slow down. Because what I think you're seeing is not so much a lull as a change. And the change is going from that summer pattern that they've been on, and that a lot of guys were like, oh my gosh, every day I got this buck, he's coming. You found a deer that's comfortable going to a food source. Even though he's coming to your scrape that you're using our scents on, he was still going back and forth to that food source. And so you caught him there, and now you put him right in front of you and you kill him. Then what happens is they start to move. And I'll use a deer we've been looking for years as an example is Mr. Liss. I mean, he hasn't been around. We haven't seen him because he's been on his what I would still call summer pattern up until 3 days ago. We finally got a video of him.
The 5th.
Yeah, so 5 days ago. So he showed up. It's taken him that long, which is typical for a lot of our deer. And I think a lot of deer across the nation do that, where they just are on that pattern and they haven't made the transition to the other one, and they aren't in the rut yet.
He would be an example I would use to argue the October lull, though.
How so?
Because he's in freaking anywhere I could hunt at 4:30 in the afternoon. And both times he's been seen on a camera is during daylight. And he's just chilling.
It was warm too, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But so what do you mean that you're arguing against the October lull?
I'm saying, what are you bringing Mr. Liss up for?
I'm saying that he's a perfect example that he's in between those two things. If you are in that area where he moves to, there is no lull.
Yeah, okay. That's what I was saying. I would be using him as an example. That
absolutely.
He's moving. He's doing stuff.
I mean, now he's in that area where I need him, and he's comfortable. If you got an area where if you're right in that core area, you still got a chance at killing him.
Both times we've seen him has been no less than 2 hours.
Did you get video of him twice? I only knew of one.
I literally showed you the video I got of him.
But I thought it was just one.
Well, I got him on a cell cam, and everybody was like, "Oh, he's alive! Woohoo!" And then I went and checked a different camera over there, and he was there 3 days before I got him on camera.
You didn't tell me that.
Yeah, I literally came over to dinner and showed you him walking into the scrape.
Yes, he did.
Yes.
Because then we talked about it the next morning.
Yeah.
I've forgotten. I'm losing my mind.
I know. I've been saying this for a while now.
I don't remember that conversation.
You've been taking your Flavit?
No, I don't
take
take
that
that
take
stuff.
any of it.
Why?
Because I cold plunge. It's way better.
Well, you should
need
do
to Flavit
both.
too.
I've been getting in head first even.
Okay.
I can hold my breath now for 5.5
This
minutes.
is who you guys are listening to on your deer advice. If that's not concerning, I don't know what is. But anyways, he kills bigger deer than me, so maybe you shouldn't be listening to me. But anyways, here we go. Onward. Anybody have opinions on this?
Well, I just gave mine, or part of mine anyhow, that I think you're in between. That I don't think that there's necessarily a lull.
Here, I would say what my frustration is with it, just on social media. I don't go on social media very much unless I have to, but every time I do, I always see something, especially this time of year, about the October lull and this and that, and guys aren't hunting, aren't trying to do anything, and all this stuff. And I'm like, it drives me up a wall because I understand that they are not moving as much, or they may be moving just at night or something, but that doesn't mean they're not doing something during the daytime. They're not just laying there all day. Guarantee, even if they are staying in one area, they're still moving around a little bit. May not be very far, but if you can get into that area, you have a pretty dang good chance if you can get in between a path there where they're going to be going later on. But my point with that is it drives me nuts because, number one, everybody acts like it's a surprise. Same freaking thing every year. We have this. It's going to change. Things are going to go from September to October. It's going to be a lot different. And you can prepare for it. You can guess when it's going to hit. And then after that is like, oh, I'm just not going to go hunt because there's no chance, or it's hot, it's this, that, the other. I really don't give a crap about weather. If I'm not out there, I have no shot. Yes, I'm going to see better movement on certain weather days or when cold fronts are coming in and stuff, but even this time of year, they just came out of 90-degree weather every day when we're seeing them. So you're going to tell me that a 90-degree day is going to be awful and no way in heck. I've seen plenty of people kill big deer, Shane being one of them, on hot days, early, no issues. If you're in the right place, you're just fine. But if you're not in the right place, then yeah, you're going to have a lot slower days. I don't have a lot of places where I can get right up into where they're going to be at. So that's what drives me nuts about the October lull, because it depends on your place, depends on your deer and what they're doing. You're shaking your head in total disagreement. He is one that will not hunt a hot day.
I 100% believe the weather dictates is the biggest dictator of the movement. If it's 85 degrees, I think that's when you do see the October lull, and I do think that you'll get bucks that, sure, they may not bed from dark till dark, but I think that if they get up, I don't think they're not going very far, and it's probably right at dark just because it's freaking hot. I think the other thing you have to keep in mind is, sure, you now are going into October, and now those deer have transitioned, and they're coming out of 90-degree weather. But the thing that you have to keep in consideration is
winter coats on.
Yes, they now have their winter coats on, which keeps them alive in sub-zero temperatures. So I would think that it probably is quite a bit easier for them to overheat. And so I think that's when you see that really slow movement. And then I think you have to also take into consideration when you have crops in. If you're in a state that has standing corn, beans probably doesn't have near as much of a factor, but standing corn makes a huge difference. So I don't know that I guess if we're saying that the October lull is just deer naturally decide they're not going to do anything for a 2-week period, that I don't believe in. However, I do believe that is influenced upon the weather. So if it's super, super hot, I don't think you're going to hardly see anything, and I think they're going to do very, very little. If you have cool weather and you are where he's at or near where that deer is at, I think that you have a pretty good chance of killing them, actually. And Shane is a good example of that. But I would think, too, that Shane probably would tell you that he sees 10 times the amount on a cool day in October where the high is 55 or 60 opposed to 85.
Not in an evening.
I don't agree.
Well, I'd like to ask him.
Well, we've talked about that on the podcast before. In the evenings, first, second, third, and stuff. If he's got the right food
In the
there,
summer.
No, I'm saying
In
October
October.
1st, 2nd, and 3rd and stuff. When he's hunting, he's seeing pretty much all his big boys and passing is the ones
Well,
in ones.
he shot
or
last
shoot,
year.
Last
I
year shot on the
filmed
second
it.
day.
It was cooler though last year.
No,
it
it was the
was
same
friggin'
as this
hot.
year.
It was not this hot.
Not this hot, but it was like 80, like the high of 80 or 75. It was because when
That's
I
what we've
walked
been
in a
having all
short
year.
sleeve shirt, I remember that clearly.
The past couple of
When-
days have been the hottest we've had.
When did you kill the deer?
October 8th.
The doe and the buck.
Yeah, the 8th.
That was the 8th.
70s, I think. I'd have to look. But
That was way.
All I
it was
had-
the 6th.
it was the 8th. I just looked because I always said it was the 10th. And then you would always tell me it's the 8th. And I was like, no way. And I looked on the video like 2 days ago. It's the 8th.
You sure?
100%. Yep. And that was morning. And yeah, that was not cold. I mean, I'm sitting there in a long sleeve shirt is all. That's
So-
what I'm
we
wearing
were
all year.
inside the timber though.
Yeah.
Right next to a bedding area.
Okay, I killed the wide 10 on October 20 something, and it was like 77 degrees, 75, 77 degrees. Brock was here, and we had hunted south, and I remember that I put Mom in the stand that was close to the pond down there because it was so hot, thinking, okay, these deer might get a drink. And then we came back and hunted at the house, and I killed that wide 10, and that was really hot.
Well, there's a big difference though too between October 9th and October 20 something. I think that
What-
was like the 24th or something.
22nd,
22nd.
22nd, I think.
I
21st or
think-
22nd.
Above all else, weather-wise, time of year is trumps it like no other. Because I know last year literally the best day I had was November, whatever it was when I had Frayne there, and that was like mid-November, I think, like somewhere around the 10th or 15th, something like that. And that was freaking hot. I was sweating my balls off because it was so hot, and I just sat by water, and there was the best hunt I had all year as far as numbers and big deer that I was seeing. And so I think that it is flat out.
But that's where you were, and that's during the rut.
That's what I'm saying, though, is a lot of people tell you when it's really hot ruts, you don't see them doing anything. And it depends, because that was during the rut, and it was super hot out. Even myself included was very hot in that. And there was deer freaking running everywhere, going nuts.
How far did those deer go over the course of that day?
I didn't see him again.
Didn't he stay around you the entire day?
He did. Every other deer was freaking all across the field, and they were going to the other place. I got pictures of them on the other, the northwest one scrape.
I don't know. You remember it was probably the first 3 or 4 years that we lived here. Like November, I think it was the first 2 weeks
The first
of November
10
were
days.
hot.
Mm-hmm.
Like 75, 80 degrees the whole time. And the movement that we saw that time, which I will also say that's partly not knowing what I was doing yet, because we were sitting like field edges and stuff a lot of the times. But I still remember sitting in the timber some of the mornings. The movement was nowhere near what it was when we have a nice cold November. Like, not even comparable in my opinion.
I think it just makes it easier for you to hunt it.
I don't know.
Well,
I think you
Because
definitely see
those
way more
first,
deer.
it doesn't matter how cold it is on those the first week or two. Your younger bucks are probably going to be freaking running around like no other, no matter what. And the bigger deer, you're not seeing as many because they probably have a doe somewhere nearby. And we found that later on, that we can go in certain spots where it could be good time or good temperatures, and you don't see very much in certain places because they're all with does or doing something.
I don't
Here's
think
what
that's
I'd
the
like
case
to,
when it's
because
that
I
hot.
have two theories. One theory, and you guys have seen this one, and I think I don't know whether you agree with me or not, but after a rain, that you want to be in a stand like the moment after it. Like we've tried to time it to where it's still raining and we climb in a tree and it quits.
Yeah.
Because it's that quickly. Mom killed a deer one day. We all were hunting south of town or southeast of town that day. That's the day you guys thought you saw or heard Bigfoot and saw.
Freaking did hear Bigfoot.
Well, but you saw 20-some deer when you guys got in the tree.
Barreling away. Ran away. We
didn't see a single deer.
After that.
We saw, a couple running away, and then we didn't see a single deer. And then East and I got out like 20 minutes early because we were not walking to the
Because Mom and I were covered up. I mean, buck after buck after buck after buck. It was crazy. However.
That's because you didn't have a Sasquatch over there.
Okay, well, maybe that's the case. I'm pretty sure they heard a coon.
No.
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah, it was
just
a coon.
like that. It was not a coon.
For like 30 seconds.
Okay. So my theory is,
You ever seen a deer run from a coon?
I've never paid attention.
No.
And it was so deep. Like I swear, I have no reason to make this up because there was both of us there.
We about pooped our pants.
We did. We were up that tree so freaking fast.
You were already up it. I was scurrying. I was like,
it was the weirdest thing I have ever heard in the woods in my entire life. Hands down.
Got him. Good job. Well, anyhow, we're not talking about Sasquatches today. What we're talking about is October lull. This was in November. My point is this has brought up a whole bunch of conversation about weather. And what I'm getting at is weather trumps everything to a point. Because I would tell you that after, I don't care if it's still 75 degrees, if that rain moves off, those deer are going to be moving. I don't know what it triggers in them to do that, but they are moving. And in that day, if you remember, mom shot at like 1:15. We were in the stand at like 12:30 because it was pouring down raining. He was filming, wasn't it?
I was filming Warren.
No, I'm talking about when I killed that buck that year. I think it was the same year, the one that he almost killed. At
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, yep.
And that was, we remember we had to wait on the thunderstorms to go through. And after the thunderstorms went through, then we went, it was hot. I was like, what? Because that was like 80-some degree weather in November. And it was ridiculously hot. So my point is that there's one theory is that when you get weather that comes through like a major front, rain or snow, and then it leaves, get in a tree, be in a tree. My other one, and this one's not as proven, and you guys may argue with me on this, but I have seen it in the summer, and I'm beginning to think, because Nick and I think had it happen the other day, and that is when you have warm temperatures, say 75, 80 degrees, so for people in other parts of the United States, you adjust to wherever you are, but more than normal warm. And then it drops. You get that morning, you're like, oh man, like that morning we had 39-degree weather. And we didn't hardly see anything. And I'm like, what the heck? I have seen that more in the summer in the evenings when you get it's been 90 all day, all week long, and then you get a 65, 70-degree day, and you go out in the evening and you think, I'm going to see every buck in the country. I'm going to drive down the road with spotting scope. I'm going to see them all. No deer, no bucks. And then you come back the next day and it's still cool. They're back out. But it seems something there cuts them off and knocks them back a little bit. So my point is that now I'm watching that, and I've seen it now this year in September, and I think even into October, where you would think the cold front, get in the tree, it's coming, which I do believe in November, late October, November. I think that those fronts really make a difference.
Okay, well, let's do this. Everybody think of before November 18th. From October 1 to November 18th, what was the absolute best sit that you ever saw as far as best sit you ever had as far as volume of deer, but also saw at least one mature buck? And what was the conditions?
I have October 10th last year, or 11th, October 11th. That one, October 10th or 11th, one of the two, and then the November 15th or whatever it was with Frayne that day. That was the most wild day.
Of all of them?
All of what?
Of all
the days?
Yeah.
Those are the two off the top of my head that I saw the most deer and saw some mature deer.
And what was the conditions?
The November one was hot. We got in there in an evening. and it was obviously in the middle of the rut, but it was hot, and well, that was about it. It was clear. I remember it was like,
And
it was just a
hot is
normal day.
how hot?
Like 65, 70s, somewhere in there, for middle of November. And then the October 11th, I think, was actually probably about the same temperature. I'd have to look at that one. Windy, though, and I saw probably 30-some deer and watched two. They were not mature deer, but like 120s, 130s, absolutely brawl for like 15, 20 minutes. And then I did see one of our bigger deer just cutting across the big opening that I was in where all the does were coming out of. He came out, walked along where the does did, and then cut off again and went over. I don't know where he went, and that was all in the evening as well, broad daylight. Now, at that same stand, I would have lots of does and stuff, but I don't typically see very many mature deer. But on last year, because I vividly remember it so well, because I was like, I'm watching two bucks just beat the crap out. Like, they were not sparring. They were just beating the piss out of each other for so long.
I can think of three, and all three of them are different weather. One day, mom's hunting the blind that we used to hunt south of town, and her and I we figured somewhere between 40 to 60 deer, different deer. We probably saw 16, 17 different bucks. She ends up killing a buck that afternoon. Weather was -8.
I thought we were going off last year.
No, I said ever.
Oh, I screwed that up.
That's what I asked you. I even asked you that a second time.
Oh.
I
I
understood it as
all
any.
of them.
So weather was like butt cold. We couldn't get out of the blind. We had to stay because there was deer there the entire day. I never left. Another day that I would say was equal to that was the first day that I shot juice. Only because we didn't see the near number of deer that we were in right at that stand that you guys have been hunting on the southwest corner. You can't see that many. But we saw more mature bucks probably than I've ever seen, meaning 140-inch kind of deer, 3, 4, 5-year-old deer. I think we saw 6 different bucks over 140 that morning. And it wasn't super, it was just a good, what I like is a good day, like a 55-degree day, went down to like 35 or 40 that morning. It was just comfortable.
That was a morning or an afternoon?
That was a morning.
Okay.
You know, both the days I just mentioned were mornings, but the when Mom killed, morning ran into afternoon. We never got out of the blind.
Okay.
And then the day that I shot Juice and killed him, me and you saw like 10 different bucks.
Yeah.
I mean, that was
we saw so many that I can't remember if I said it or if we both said it or if we kept it to ourselves, because it was like the only deer that
we haven't seen is Juice. Yeah, because we've seen every buck that, and if you remember, it wasn't super cold because remember it had snowed and it melted on us. That was our problem. I mean, it melted
midday, and that morning it was 20-some. Yeah.
I don't know if it was 20-something, but it was.
I know what coats I was wearing, so I know that, and I go by temperature, so it was like 24.
Can I change mine?
Yeah.
I screwed up. One of them would be, it has to be November 6th through the 10th, somewhere in there with you, at Dad's place. The same day you killed Bully.
November
that would have been 10th
9th.
then. You killed Bully on the 10th.
Was it that morning that we saw?
That morning.
You guys were freaking out.
Real.
November 10th, yeah.
And that was, I want to. I mean, it wasn't cold, but it was cooler,
like 40 probably.
Yeah.
It was warmer because we went down.
I remember hanging it. We
went down there with the tractor. We all had to take everything off.
Yeah, I think it was like 40s or 50s.
I want to say it was in the 50s.
Not
during the day. In the morning, it might have been in the 40s.
Yeah, it was like 40s in the morning.
That was wild. Like,
yeah,
you could not sit down. You couldn't look anywhere because it was bucks were running everywhere. There was large deer running everywhere. The deer Warren killed that afternoon was running through there. And then the other one would be Frayne still, the one I was just talking about. But the one that would be on top of, or with that one, was the only one that I've had very close to as far as caliber of deer and the amount of deer would have been you. When me and you sat and saw BZ
that afternoon.
And I got a shot at Morphe. That was unreal too, because that one we saw.
We probably saw $10.
There's probably $10, but if you did an average of how big those $10 were, it was probably 50s, like 140s to 150s. and one was huge, and then there was 4 or 5 like 140s, 150s screwing with the big one with his doe. The one I shot was probably 50s, missed clean. Good job, Easton. And that one was chaotic. That was cold, if I remember right.
Yeah, it was cold.
I don't think that was the same day that I blew a fart out of my freaking grunt call, but
it was like a clear though.
But it was clear and cool, or like cold.
Yep.
I remember that.
Okay.
I just remember.
And that had to have been.
It was warm walking in because it's a long walk in there.
That would have been. Oh boy.
That was late November.
I think it was like the second week of November because I think that's the same year I killed that 8.
Yep.
I might be able to tell you. I think I still have that video on my phone.
Later in November when I killed him.
Okay. Mine was October 16th, 2019. Same place that you guys just were. I saw 5. It was either 5 deer or 6 deer. No. Crossroads.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Remember? That's how.
Yeah, that place is.
And saw either 5 deer or 6 deer that were all over 150 inches.
Yeah.
And Alyssa should have shot one of them at like
10 yards.
Yeah, like 5 yards.
Yeah.
I mean, right underneath us, and
The
she just
it was
couldn't
a
get to the full
9?
draw. Yeah, that went out the first blade that we were calling blade.
Yeah.
She just couldn't get to full draw, and I mean, it was unbelievable. Hershey, that's the first time I saw Hershey.
Yeah.
So we saw it was 2 bucks, 2 big mature deer got in a fight. And the one, honestly, looking back after looking at the video, he's probably high 60s. He looked like just an 8, but then I think it was you that noticed that he had 2 inside points that were like 9.
Yeah.
Those 2 deer got in a fight. Then Hershey was over there next to them. And then there was one other deer that came over from that.
Marshmallow
Was the one with the inside tines.
Oh, yeah.
And then
all these stupid.
So there was 4 of them right there,
and
then
Carmel.
Then
he was a 9.
And then there was also the deer though that we ended up hammer imposter. Saw him that morning too. So there's 5, and then the one that Alyssa almost shot, so 6. So there were 6 deer I saw that morning that were all 150 plus inches.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was freaking wild. And that was October 16th. I was able to look at OnX. And that was like probably 35 degrees. It was cool. It was cool and calm. I mean, I think if I remember right, there was like a 5-6 mile an hour wind, but not anything crazy. And then the second one was October 18th. 4 years ago, I think it was 4 years ago, almost killed Ralph. And I saw I think I counted like 32 does out of that stand. And it was cold, though. Like, it was one of those really cold snaps in October. And those are the 2 that I can think of that I saw the most mature deer I'd ever seen in just volume. And it was, I would have thought there would have been others in November, but I think they were both October.
Okay, what does this prove?
What?
That was fun.
Well, what was the hottest day? We didn't have a single day except for maybe.
I had 2 that were hot.
So everything else wasn't over.
Well,
60 degrees.
Here's what I would say. I don't think that you see better deer movement when it's hotter, but I just don't believe it stops it. I mean, that's that's all I'm getting at.
Too many people kill big deer even when it's warm.
I'll tell you that. Hold on.
I think they can. There's enough cell cams out there now that they're going to be able to go and group that data, the amount of pictures that and weather conditions, and they'll show you that weather is 100%.
I don't think that the one that we don't give enough credit to, and it's because none of us have studied it enough, and we probably should to be as avid hunters as we are, is moon phases.
Yeah.
I do believe that moon phase plays a big role. Both of these guys are shaking their head, and that's just ignorance talking.
It's bogus.
It is not bogus.
I just don't have enough.
I've looked.
I don't care what you've looked at.
Bogus.
I don't have enough information to make a definitive answer. It sounds wild to me, but what I will say is my research has stop. This is for you. My research has shown more movement. I'd have to look. There's a movement on one moon phase that I was like, well, nobody ever talks about it, but it's freaking, and all of my pictures are on
rising moon. Here. If I told you that the water in this bay was going to change because of the moon, you would have said, you're freaking off your rocker.
That's valid.
You would say, you're freaking stupid. That water has nothing to do with that thing up there in the sky. And it freaking does.
Yeah, it does.
110%.
I have done my own research on it with deer, and I don't think that the moon makes any difference on it.
Okay, so on the waxing crescent, I have significantly more pictures and then the second one is the waning gibbous. A full moon, I have 0 pictures on. A new moon, I have like no pictures on. And what was the other one? Oh, I guess the waning crescent.
See, I have killed some of
both the waxing crescent and the waning gibbous. Is it gibbous? Gibbous. I said it right the first time. Waning gibbous. So here would be a fun one if you want to see, because those have been during warm weathers too. My average is like 60 degrees or something like that. My average temperature is 63 degrees. I'm gonna have to look. I wonder what. Yeah,
well, here's the thing I would tell you, and because I'd still live by this. If we have a full moon, that's when I sit the longest, or I go get in the stand the latest, because I've killed a couple of my Montana Pope and young deer came at noon between 12 and 1 or 2 o'clock.
See, on those though, you gotta be in the right place, because I'm telling you right now, like the reason my cameras would show nothing on those full moon and new moon. Not because I give a crap about the moon right now or anything, but there's no pictures on them because they're by a field or they're like right off the edge or something.
Could be.
That's not a valid, like those cameras, if you want to actually get a genuine understanding or factual information, they need to be somewhere where they're going to be too during the day.
Right.
So that's, what moon phase tonight is first quarter. So you could look, I have quite a few pictures on the first quarter, so I need to hunt. I need to hunt tonight.
See, I would tell so here's where I would tell you that I feel like if I go to where I'm thinking that I'm going to go this afternoon, I'm going to be hesitant. I'll probably still do it because I just can't not shooting a doe, because I think I got a good chance of killing a mature buck tonight, and it's supposed to be 86 degrees. But I got the wind right. If I can make it to this stand that I want to go to without getting busted, because it's on the edge of a bedding area, I think I have a good chance of killing a good buck. Even though it's 86, 85,
tonight,
86.
you think?
Mm-hmm.
Where?
OW.
Oh.
What's the wind?
Southwest. Southwest, which is perfect.
Yeah. I say don't shoot a doe. And make sure you're super sneaky in there.
Yeah, no, you have to be. We've done it before.
No,
right?
no. I want to see this moon thing work.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't say. I
it's
don't know.
It's like the tide. It's gravitationally going to pull his ass right by you.
I think it would be more so of movement more than it is like.
Yes.
See, I will say, I'm not a big fan of the moon stuff. I think it's kind of like conspiracy theorist, and I definitely don't hunt based on moon phases. But I will say I wouldn't be surprised if something had to be with the moon phases. Something would affect the movement as a whole. Sure as heck, I'm not. Like, it would take quite a bit for me to see some like straight up information on a specific mature deer that he is moving specifically on these days because of this moon.
Well, I'm not telling you because of the moon is why I think. I'm just telling you that even though I've got this crappy weather that we were just talking about, I still think because I understand where the deer are, where they want to go. The only thing that I have going against me that I think is hurting me is right now I feel like these deer are more still corn-based than they are bean-based, and the cornfield is behind them, so they can go the other way and just I don't ever see them. Where if I had corn on where I'm entering from, I feel like I'd really have a good chance.
You know what would be fun to see, to get a little bit of information, is old Gump Baby. I've got a spreadsheet of his
start
movement.
keeping track of the moon.
I could put right on the side. I track like I highlight it when it's a daylight picture or something like that, just so I can try to see consistent things. I could put the moon phases on there too and see if
we should do.
They're all during nighttime, so
we should do the same thing for List though, and just see because we know for a fact how mature he is.
Yeah.
Where I still think there's a chance that the
Gump is 4.
Gump is 4.
Yeah.
He's semi-mature.
Yeah. He's in his teen years. Warren is just like not in.
It's a deer. I've taken time and tried to see if there was any consistency, and the problem is there's zero consistency with it. And so after that, I was like, oh, I'm not doing this anymore. It's because
It's just water, but it rises and falls.
Fair.
All
All right. Well, there's our October lull and
There's what you think
phases.
Yeah. Just remember, if it rains, and I'm not talking about like just for 5 minutes, but you get a thunderstorm or something or you get a front that comes in and it rains for a day or it rains for several hours, and you have the opportunity to be in a tree or in a blind, you want to be there.
My favorite is when they're raining like multiple days in a row.
Oh, and then it breaks.
Yep.
And
it breaks into some good weather.
Well, just stops raining and lit, and like the clouds lift where it's cleared off, that kind of thing.
Yep.
Yeah, it can be phenomenal. All right.
okay.
Wacky fact. I got a wacky fact today. I'm going to light you up.
Is this going to be an actual fact or just a fun story that's funny?
This is a fact.
Okay. Jack.
Well, it definitely ain't that the weather is going to have an effect on a deer hunt then, because we've proven it ain't a fact.
Yeah,
it's just a theory.
If I want to do fiction, I'd talk about moon phases and deer movement. Male fruit flies will seek out alcohol when sexually rejected.
That is so human-like that it's not even funny.
Why has my green one been giving me issues?
I don't know. Because he
Shout out to Levi Roach.
Good job, Levi. That was a good one.
Yeah, that was a good one.
That's it?
Is that it? That
heck yeah,
wow.
it's
blew your whole
money.
wad on that? Holy
I
cow.
passed it through.
Oh, boy. Okay, go on. What's yours?
So, do you guys know why? You might, because I think I've told you guys, but Nick and them did not know this. Do you know why that dryer sheets come in squares that are not hooked together?
I feel like that's very convenient.
Dryer sheets that are not
In fact,
together.
you only need a little bit.
And this is the older crowd that's listening is going to know what I'm talking about, because when they originally came out, it was just a roll. You like paper towels. You pulled a bounce sheet or whatever dryer sheet off and ripped one off. They quit doing that because they found it was such a good accelerant and there's no residue left from it. So you could take that and string that across somewhere, light one in, and it would go and burn up a house or whatever, and then nothing was left. You had no idea. So they made the dryer sheet companies cut them so that someone couldn't do that.
Unless they just put them all together.
They could tie them. They could tie them together, but they come in little tiny squares. There's a lot of things you could do like that.
So people were using these for
Yes.
What?
For starting fires, because they could just string it.
Like a Tom and Jerry type thing.
Tom and Jerry, what do you mean?
Well, like Tom and Jerry always lays out his bomb fuse for
Yeah, I guess
Jerry.
you could.
Yeah.
If that makes it where it's relative for you, then use your Tom and Jerry theory.
It's not really a wacky fact.
It is a
There you
wacky
go.
fact.
Those are more wacky
Nick,
facts than what
shut up.
you
You're
normally
behind
come
the
up with.
camera.
Well,
Are you kidding
let's
me?
see what you guys think. I
I've
think
had to
that's
do one
about
every week for weeks.
Yeah,
He's
but
come
you
up
just
with
go
4.
at the first ones, and it's like, yeah.
No, I've done some deep research on them.
No, you have not.
Nobody will ever be able to top the koala poops.
No, they will not. That one was good. I will give you that.
The cubes.
Or the T-Rex
Yeah.
sized turds.
No, that one was a letdown. We don't like that one.
No, I'm saying that is absolutely wacky because everybody else agrees that there should be a bigger
giant
T-Rex
turd.
poop.
Yeah, it should be like the size of a dog.
We should start raised paleontology, and we're all gonna go out and find a bigger dinosaur turd just to prove that there is one.
I'm in on that.
Well,
There's gotta be
I'll
a
drive
monster.
the extra. I'll operate
You
the
can only look
excavator.
for them on the right moon phase.
Oh, my gosh.
All right, guys, this is the Raised Hunting Podcast signing off. Hold on before we sign off, because we know you guys already know, but tell your friends that if you're looking for scents, raised scents, if you're looking for knocks, lighted knocks, and I can speak to fact now, 4 or 5?
5.
5 deer. 5 deer, 1 knock has passed through all 5 of them. It's still going, and I've washed it.
And is it turned off at all?
No. I mean, I turned it off. Is that...
Yes. Meaning that
No,
when it
he's
went through the
passed
deer,
through.
did it turn off?
No, it
It
was
is not
on.
turned off.
It was on when I went and got every one of them. You can see it on film.
Thank you, David, for letting us know you turned it off.
Well, I didn't. You know, if you meant did it not work, I couldn't turn it off because there is the chance I could break the switch, but I haven't done that. So,
Yeah.
I mean,
You're not going to break the switch. That's
well, I mean, if you hit enough bone, I guess it would break the switch. But you're
Shut those
probably
frickin' things
your
down.
arrow ain't going that far through for the knock to get to that point.
all right.
So, anyhow, this is and then don't forget about the dog line. We got Raised Canine. So check out
you
the
trackers, you guys that have dogs out there, bird hunting, everything. You need to check it out because it is dang good for your dog. It's not just a treat; it is health.
Well,
It'll help them. For
Next
the
time
long
Shane's on here, we'll have him.
Well, that's what I was getting ready to say.
provide
Shane just
testimony.
left to go bird hunting. He takes 7 dogs with him to Montana, and he came by the shop and said, I got to have it because I will not take my dogs without it. I mean, he is like 100%. He's like totally, this made it where his dogs could hunt day after day.
Yep.
That he didn't have to cycle through
Without
the
him being
dogs.
sore and
Yeah, well, I mean,
stoved up.
Yep, he's like the first day he didn't do it, then he did it, and then he was like new dogs, and did it again the next day. He's like it's not even bothering him.
Yep.
Yeah, he was like 110%. So
Heck yeah.
All right, guys, it's the Raised Hunting Podcast
Good
signing
luck.
off. Good luck to you guys.